there, welcome to Flexibility and Strength. Thank you for joining me for the next video installment. Today we're going to be using techniques from BAT or Barra Terra to work on a lower body. So we're going to be using some active stretching techniques and some contract relaxed techniques. All these postures can be done in a passive way as well. I think it's great to learn these active techniques, but if you also feel like today you really want to be passive, you can also choose for yourself. So just checking with how you're feeling today. We will be using a strap quite a bit this session, so grab whatever you have available, and if you have a long strap, might be handy as well, or even joining two together. Alrighty, let's get started. So let's start lying down today and just take a few breaths, as we always do. Take a minute to arrive. So just checking in with your posture. You can make sure your hips are level, that your feet are about shoulder width apart, and your feet are gently falling out to the side. You can pull the shoulder blades under and down, lengthen the neck, and try to align the arms so that our forearm is not rotating inwards or outwards. So really trying to align your shoulder, your elbow, and your wrist. And just take a minute to first feel the ground beneath you. Let's just bring our awareness to our physical body by feeling all the points of connection with your body and the floor. Just feeling the floor hold you. And we're going to start lengthening the breath. So just taking nice long inhalations and exhalations, and every exhale you can imagine sinking a little bit deeper into the floor. Keep lengthening and softening the breath. Keeping the awareness with the body, still being aware of the points of connection between your body and the floor, and sinking in a little deeper with every exhale. Trying to let go of any thoughts. If thoughts creep in, just acknowledge them and gently let them go, and bring your attention back to the physical body, feeling the floor hold you. Feeling the muscles expand with every inhale, feeling the spine long as you inhale as well. Gently keep on lengthening through the neck and softening back down into the ground with every exhale. And we're just going to gently, on the next inhale, lift the arms slowly over the head. Try to synchronize the movement with your inhalation. And exhaling and lengthening down through the heels of the feet. You can take a moment to stretch out one side at a time, so just gently stretching one side a little bit more than the other, so you're slightly contracting one part of the side body, one side, and lengthening the other one. And now continue the same thing with pointed feet. And bringing the hands back down, and bring the knees up to the chest, and just hugging the knees in, keeping the sacrum connected to the mat, keeping the lower back really flat, and really putting a lot of weight on your knees, bringing them into the chest. Continuing to lengthen the spine. And let's come into some gentle circles here, so just giving the lumbar spine a bit of a massage, waking up the pelvis. Keep lengthening and softening the breath and being really present with the spine. And circling one way and then the other. And now we're going to go one side to the other. So just letting the knees drop over one side and then the other. And I just let my neck be really passive and just move as a consequence of me bringing my knees over the other side of my body. So we're coming into a rock and a bit of a twist as well. And back to center, and now we're going to do a bit of rocking forwards and backwards too. So keep this as small as you like, or as big as you like. If you want to come to the knees all the way over the head, please do. Feeling the floor, massaging every little vertebra. And coming on down, and we're going to do one last twist to continue to wake up our spine. So bringing the knee over the opposite side of the body. You can use the hand to rest on top if you like. My opposite arm is pointing out the other side, and I'm keeping my opposite shoulder blade connected and looking over your opposite hand. Continue to lengthen and soften the breath. And coming back to center on the other side, so bringing one knee into the chest, letting it drop over the other side of the body and looking over the opposite hand. Remember, keep that opposite shoulder blade connected. And I'm just going to invite you to have a bit of a free roll around on the ground as well. Just whatever you feel like you need to do. Just taking a moment to move around, feeling the floor massage you. You can roll all the way over. Stretch out the arms and legs, then contract the body. Just continuing to wake up. Whatever feels good to you. And eventually coming all the way to a kneeling position. And let's just continue this movement into the cervical spine, into our neck. So let's just start looking from side to side. And one ear to the other. And up and down, so chest to chin, and then looking up. Keep lengthening through the back of the neck as you look up. Don't compress the back of the neck. And back to the center. We're going to do this strange one. We're going to sit in a neutral position, and you're going to pull your chin in towards you and then return to neutral. So it's like you're trying to create a double chin. Just in and out, keeping the rest of the spine really neutral. It's very subtle. And coming into some full circles or semicircles. So you can circle down through the bottom to one side and then back. If you're feeling good in your neck, you can circle all the way around. So you can come back, either stay in a sitting position or you can lean down on your elbows if you like. And we're going to just come through working up our feet and giving ourselves a bit of a stretch. So let's start with pointing the toes, and then I'm going to bend my knees just enough so that my toes can touch the ground. So I want the minimum bend in my knees that I can do. And as I straighten my legs, I'm going to pretend I want to fight my toes lifting off the ground. So I want to imagine that I'm going to keep dragging my toes along the ground, which obviously isn't possible, but that's what we're aiming for. When I get to straight legs, I'm going to first flex my toes. I'm then going to flex my entire foot. I'm then going to point my foot while keeping my toes flexed, point my toes, and then bend my knees to bring the toes to touch the floor again. I might do that without socks so you can just see properly. So just going to cycle through that a few times, really trying to isolate The toes and the feet, you can spread the toes out as well. We spend all our life on our feet, and I feel like we often don't give them enough attention. And just a few more of those. So we're creating arch here, we're creating strength in our arch, which is very good for our posture. And then we're going to come into a gentle foot stretch. So keep this very, very, very as small as you need to. So just bringing the tops of the toes onto the mat, and you're just going to find a position where you can lean on there a little bit and keep the heel pushing in. So what we don't want is this action. So we don't want to internally rotate our foot, and I'm going to use strength to keep imagining that I want to push my ankle into this leg, if that makes sense. So we don't want to be there, that's where we're going to hurt ourselves, we want to be here. And just keeping it nice and gentle and just rocking backwards and forwards. So this is an aesthetic thing of circus and gymnastics, obviously, but I think it's also a really nice way to keep our feet healthy as long as we do it nice and gently. So again, making sure that heel is pushing in and not letting it fall out. And rolling backwards and forwards. Nice and gentle. And let's just compensate that a little bit by just coming into a kneeling position with the toes tucked under. Again, bring the heels, the ankles together. So again, we don't want our feet coming open like that, but we want to keep pushing the insides of our heels together. And we're just going to gently sit back for a second. So feeling all those tendons stretch out. This is quite intense, so just stay as long as you want to. And giving the feet a bit of a tap out if you like. And coming back down to the mat, and we're going to continue to warm up our joints with a little bit of motion. So bringing one knee into the chest and crossing it over the body. Bring the arms into a T shape, and I'm going to point and flex my leg and my foot, trying to bring my knee in as close to my chest as I can when I flex. You can also look over the opposite shoulder if you'd like to continue the twist. And next time the leg is straight, bring it up to the ceiling, bending the knee and coming into some nice big circles, warming up the hips. And the other way. And crossing the knee over to touch the floor on one side and then opening it out to touch on the other side. Don't worry about your opposite shoulder blade coming off here. And hugging the knee into the chest, keeping that bottom leg active and pressing down into the floor. And bringing that foot to the opposite knee to come into our glute stretch. So grabbing hold of the leg where you can. Remember keeping the sacrum connected to the floor. Don't let the hips lift up. And bringing that top leg, crossing it further over to bring the knees together, grabbing on to the shins or to the feet, whatever works for you. If you're holding the feet, bring them down and up towards your head. Remember keeping the sacrum connected. And releasing that one, we're going to go through the same sequence on the other side. So bringing the knee into the chest, crossing it over the body and flexing the knee and straightening the leg. And we're going to accompany this by pointing our foot and flexing our foot. Bringing the knee as close to the chest if you can, and looking over the opposite shoulder, over the opposite hand, if you would like to continue the twist into the neck. And next time the leg is straight, bringing it up towards the ceiling, bending the knee in once more, and coming through a nice big circle. So finding all the motion and space that we have in our hip. And the other way. Keeping the opposite hip connected to the floor, keeping both hips in fact connected to the floor. They're just isolating the hip. And crossing the knee over and opening it out. Trying to touch the knee to the floor. Don't worry if your opposite shoulder blade comes off the floor. And hugging the knee into the chest. One more time, and bring the foot to the opposite knee, and coming into a glute stretch, sacrum connected. And crossing that top leg all the way over to stack the knees, grabbing a hold of the legs or the feet, making sure our sacrum is still connected. And bring the stretch into the piriformis. And releasing that one, we're going to warm up our knees a little bit more. So we're just going to point legs straight up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to flex and straighten. So we can do this quite quickly to raise the temperature in our knee joints. This is also really good for aerials people for strength when you need to grip a silk or a trapeze. So really feeling that strength as you bring the heels into the bum. And releasing that one, and let's start warming up our arms. So just coming through and doing some nice big circles. And the other direction. Keep engaging the core while you're here too, pulling the belly button in towards the spine. And we're going to bring the arm across the body and use the other arm to pull it down. Remember, keep the shoulder down away from the ear. And the other one. And coming into a sitting position, we're going to keep come to kneeling or cross leg. Kneeling's probably a bit more comfortable. We're going to keep warming up our shoulder joints. So we're going to come into our second position with our arm. I'm going to circle the hand in towards me and back out to come into full internal rotation. I'm going to rotate externally again. Up in fifth position, and then I'm going to straighten and try to lift my shoulder blade up and away. So let's cycle through that a few times. Go 4 or 5 on each side, and the other one. Again, finding all the potential movement we have in our shoulder. Again, 4 or 5 on each side. And let's do a little neck stretch while we're here as well. So just you're letting gravity pull your head over to one side, and then I'm going to pull down with the opposite hand. So we're pulling the shoulder away from the ear to intensify the stretch. You can move your head around a little bit, see if you find any sweet spots. Need a bit more of a stretch out. And then I want you to try to rotate your palm behind you. So externally rotating the shoulder, and that should bring the stretch a little bit more into the front of the neck. And I'm going to cross the arm behind my back, like this. And I'm going to grab onto the inside of my opposite hand. And I'm going to now look to the same side and down at the ground. This will bring it more into the trapeze muscle, into the back of the neck. And the other side, so starting just dropping the ear over to the shoulder and pulling away and down with the opposite arm. You can move your head around gently to see if there's any particular sweet spot you need to stretch. And rotating that palm behind you to externally rotate the shoulder. See how that feels, where that shifts the stretch to. And now I'm going to cross that arm behind me, grab a hold of the opposite arm with the hand, and then I'm going to look to the side and down. And we're going to finish our little neck stretch with a gentle forward bend. So keep a micro bend in the knees if you like, since this is the first forward bend we've done for the session, and we're just going to shake the head out yes and no. And we're going to sway from side to side, drawing a figure eight with our hands on the ground. And gently coming to stillness again, and we're going to slowly roll up from the base of the spine, putting a bend in the knees, rolling up vertebra, one vertebra at a time. Last thing to come up is our shoulders, then our head. So we're going to do some leg and core conditioning. So first, before we start, let's just circle the wrists gently because we're going to put some weight on them now. And giving them a little stretch out, pulling the fingers down towards the ground. And rotating the palm facing up and pulling the fingers back towards you. And the other side, palm facing down, pulling the fingers back towards you. And palm facing up and pulling the fingers. So we're going to come into our balances. So two options, making sure hands directly beneath the shoulders, knees directly beneath the hips, and you can either do it from here. We're going to come lifting one arm and opposite leg, trying to keep the core really engaged and the spine neutral, and the other side. So we don't want to arch and lift the leg too much, but we want to keep drawing the belly button up towards the spine. And let's go one more on each side. If you want a bit more of a challenge, you can do this for a plank position. So we're working on our core stabilizers here. So come into a bit of a wide plank. Just give a go of lifting. Opposite arm and leg. And the other one. And back down. We're going to do some glute strengthening from a downward dog position this time. So, again, come to your cat position with your hands directly beneath your shoulders and knees under the hips, and just turn the toes under and push up, and that will make sure that you're in your appropriate downward dog position. So we're going to lift one leg up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to just gently lift from this position. Let's go 10 to 15 on each side. One down and the other one up. Remember to keep pushing strongly through the palms of the hands and the shoulders and gently lifting. Between 10 and 15. And cap it on down. Give the wrist a bit of a shake out. And then we're going to do, from a cat position, we're going to do our straddle version of this. So again, you can do it straight from the ground. If you want to try though, lift the leg and hold, and then we're going to lift at height. Between 10 and 15. If you do want to keep doing it just to the ground, that's fine. So remember here, we don't want our torso to compensate, but we want our torso very straight, so I'll just show you from the other side too. So spine is neutral, core is engaged, and what we don't want happening is this when I lift my leg. I want to keep my core very stable and just isolate the leg. And give the arms a bit of a stretch out, so coming into a long child's pose, stretching out the shoulders. You can also try to keep stretching out further until you bring your chest down to the mat while keeping the hips up in the air. So bring it a little bit more into the chest. Come all the way down to the mat. Just bring the arms beside you and resting the cheek on the mat for a couple of breaths. Continue with our core work. So today we're going to try to do some core posture rolls. So we're going to try two options here. So I want you to come into a dish position with your arms above your head if you can. If you need to keep your legs a little bit bent here and work with bent legs, that's fine as well. And what we want to do is we want to try to roll over to a side dish with as much control as possible. Holding your dish and really trying to roll over slowly with control. Holding the side dish for a second. You can put your hand here down the floor if you need. Then I'm going to keep continuing to roll over to a Superman. As much control as you can. And onto the other side. And back to a dish. You can just still see me, beautiful. And then we're going to try the other way. Nice and slow. All the way over to a superhero, rolling back up to the side, and all the way over to dish. And take a breath. Don't worry if that, if it's a little bit rusty at the moment and you feel you're falling over, that's fine. Just give it a go and try to obtain as much control as you can. Next time we're going to do this a little bit more freely. So I want you to just practice engaging your core, but it doesn't really matter what's happening with the rest of your body as long as you're engaging your core. So your extremities can be doing whatever they want, and you're just going to roll around without disengaging the core. We're still trying to get that control. Come into a few little crunches if you like. So just have a bit of a play while we are engaging and working with our core. So that idea of moving while we're keeping it engaged too, which is very what we're after a lot of the time when we're doing any kind of movement practices. And come back to the mat. And let's do a few cat-cows to balance that out. And let's just do a couple of leg lifts as well. So just that idea, introducing you to ways of engaging and working the muscles we want to work, but in a freer and maybe more enjoyable way. So used to doing crunches all the time. So let's just do a few little hip lifts here. So we're going to come into a lying L position. And what we're trying to do is just lift the hips off the ground. So I'm not lifting and bringing my legs over my head. I'm in fact lifting and trying to keep pointing my feet upwards. So it's just like a little bounce. Between 10 and 15 again, they're quite intense. And coming on down. And let's roll over and have a little cobra stretch. To stretch out our abs as well. And a little child's pose. Alrighty, so grab a hold of your strap and coming down to lie on the mat. Let's start with the opposite leg in a bent position with the foot on the mat to begin with, and we're going to bring one leg up. We're not going to bring it to our the full extension here, but just where it starts to stretch for you. I would also recommend holding the strap with the thumbs facing down towards you instead of this, which is a little bit less comfortable position for the arms. And then we're going to come into some circles. So we're going to come out to second, bring the foot all the way back down, and you can make these maybe a little bit bigger each time if you like. Let's do 4. And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab the strap and I'm going to wrap it around the outside and then to the inside. So what I'm actually doing is externally rotating my hip. So I'm bringing the inner arch of my foot and my heel towards me. If your foot rotates the other way, you know you've wrapped wrong. And let's do 4 again with the hip in external rotation. 4, and maybe just hold it there for a second. And we can straighten out the bottom leg now if you like. And unwinding the strap, we're still working with the same leg. We're going to do a little bit of contract relax here. So here we definitely don't want to start at our full extension, but wherever you feel like it's just starting to stretch. So for me that's about 90 degrees. So you're going to grab a hold, thumbs definitely facing down now because we're going to be using strength here. So I'm going to push as if I want to push my leg back down to the floor. I'm going to push down for 8 seconds. And go 1, 2, 3. Pushing down as hard as you can. 8. And then relaxing the leg muscles and bring the leg in a little bit closer. And I'm going to push back against the strap again for 8 seconds. Try to keep your shoulders grounded so you're not using unnecessary strength or creating tension in your neck. And relaxing, bring the leg a little bit closer. And then I'm going to push back again for another 8 seconds. 1, so pushing back as hard as you can. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And bring it closer again. So you might find that you've gotten your leg into much further than you would normally. So we're just going to hang here for about 20 seconds too. Really keeping that bottom leg pushing down towards the mat. Don't let it lift up and be forgotten. We want to keep engaging that one as well. And just to finish off, we're going to pull the strap a little bit higher up on your foot so it's almost in your toes or right on the balls of your foot. So you're bringing the foot into a really strong flexion and increasing the stretch in the hamstring behind the knee. And releasing that one. While we're still on this leg, we're going to come into a little quad stretch. So I'm going to bend the knee to bring my foot in behind me, really, really close to my body so I'm not creating strain on the knee, and I want my knee on the same line as my hip. So I would recommend, we don't want to arch our back here. In fact, we want to roll our pelvis under. So I would recommend staying up on your elbows so you can really roll the pelvis under and achieve that position. Try to keep your hips as level as you can. If you're quite flexible quads and you want to lie down, you can. But again, we don't want to arch the spine. We want to keep rolling the pelvis under. So if I come down to all the way lying, I actually find my knee comes off of the mat. And I think that's a preferable position to letting your back arch and keeping your knee on the floor. So if I want to be here, I can keep rolling the pelvis under and keep pushing down with my knee. side. So starting, popping the foot in the strap, just coming to where we start to feel a stretch, not coming into our full extension, and gentle circles. So coming up to second, doing a rond de jambe to bring the foot all the way back down. Let's go 4. You can make them a little bit bigger each time if you like, pulling a little bit harder on the strap. And now we're going to do the same thing with our foot in external rotation. So I'm going to wrap the strap around the outside first and then bring it into the inside. So my inner arch and heel is facing me. And let's go 4 more now in external rotation. Trying to not let that other opposite hip come off. So if I come into second and that hip starts rolling up, that's not what I want. I want to keep that hip engaged and really isolate the hip that we're working on. So sorry, keeping this hip pressing down, I should say. I think that's 3. Let's go 1 more. And coming, unwrapping the strap, and now let's do our contract relax weight. So again, just starting where it's just starting to stretch, not in your full extension, thumbs facing towards you, and we're going to push down against the strap for 8. And 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Relax and bring it in a little bit closer. Remember to keep engaging, pushing down with the opposite leg. Don't forget about it. And pushing 8 seconds back against the strap again. 1, 2. So pushing as hard as you can. 6, 7, 8. And bring the leg a little bit further. And we're going to push down 1 more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And relax the leg and bring it into your full extension here, your maximum flexibility. And we're going to hold for about 20 seconds. Remember to keep pressing down with the opposite leg. And moving the strap onto the balls of the feet, just under the toes, and let's come into a really strong flexion with the foot as well. This is a bit more of a nerve stretch you might find as well. And releasing that one, we're going to bring that same leg into a quad stretch. So bringing the foot under, positioning the foot really close to the hip, knee in line with the hip. You can place the other foot on the mat if you like, and rolling the pelvis under. Have a look at your hips, do a little bit of adjusting if you need to. Releasing that one. We're going to do 1 more with the strap while we're on the floor. So this is the one where it is beneficial and kind of more comfortable to have a longer strap or 2 straps joined together if you have them available. So first we are going to bring the foot up and we're going to go into external rotation again. So strap around the outside to the inside. And first, let's just let it drop out to the side for a second. Keeping that opposite hip grounded. You can hold with both hands in front of your chest if you like. And bring the foot back up to the center. Now I'm going to, keeping the foot still, I'm imagining that my foot is hanging from the ceiling. I'm going to try to keep the foot in that position and the leg straight, and I'm going to roll my hips over to come up onto the side. So I'm externally rotating the top foot and the bottom foot. So I want to try to bring the top of my foot to be touching the mat, and I want to stack one hip on top of the other. Try to keep your neck neutral in this position. This is why it's nice to have a long strap. If you can get it in your opposite hand to the leg that you're stretching, it's more comfortable because you can use this top hand for balancing as well. Okay. And we're going to come back down. Again, I'm imagining that my foot is hanging from the ceiling. So with control, I want to roll my hips back down without changing the position of my leg. And we're going to come over to the other side. So again, externally rotating the legs, so strap outside to inside, and first I'm just going to let it drop out to the side. I sometimes think it's nice to use both hands here, keeping that opposite hip grounded. And coming all the way up, I'm just going to turn around so you guys can see. So again, grabbing hold of the strap with the opposite arm to the leg that I'm stretching. Imagining my foot is hanging from a little string from the ceiling. I'm going to roll the hips over. Adjust your hand if you need to on the strap. So really externally rotating the top leg and the bottom. So I want to try to bring the top of my foot to be touching the floor, stacking one hip on top of the other and trying to keep the neck as neutral as possible. And again, trying to keep the foot in the same position, slowly with control, rolling the hips back over and releasing the foot. We're going to come through one little sequence before we finish up on the floor. So I'll explain it. This is our, this is like a Barra Terra sequence, similar to the contemporary dance one we did once. So I'll run through it once on either side if you like, and then you can join in whenever you're comfortable. So I'll go twice on either side. So first, we are going to bring the knee into the chest in a passe, and then I'm going to stretch the leg back out along the floor. I'm going to lift the leg up, and I'm going to do the same motion I just did with the strap. I'm going to roll my hips over while keeping the foot pointing up. I'm then going to bend my knee, to bring my foot in front of my other leg, and I'm going to push the hip open here. Then I'm going to bring that foot behind me and open up the quads even more. Then I'm going to come up onto this elbow and I'm going to attempt to straighten or near straighten both my legs. As if I'm going to split and open my arm and my chest. I'm going to come back down and bring the legs together. I'm going to lift the top leg up once more and keeping it in the air, I'm going to roll all the way over to my belly, lift the chest a little bit, and then come back, leg up, all the way back down to the back, and bring the leg back down. I'll do that once on the other side as well, explaining slowly, and then we'll go once in time. So bringing knee into chest, straightening, leg up, rolling over onto the side while keeping the leg in the same position. Foot in front, bending the knee, pushing the hip open, leg behind, stretching the quad, trying to walk the foot as far away from you as you can behind, up on the elbows, straighten both legs, lift, open chest and arm, legs back together, torso down, lift up that top leg once more, and we're going to roll over while keeping that leg up in the air to the belly, opening the chest, pushing the chest up a little bit I should say, and then coming back, leg up, all the way back down to our back, leg back down. Did everyone understand that? So let's try once in time, so follow along with me. So let's start with the first leg. So knee to chest, straighten leg, Legs straight up, roll over onto the hip. Bend the knee to bring the foot in front, push it forward. Bring the foot behind, walk the foot as far away as you can to stretch the quad. Up on the elbow, split, arm overhead. Back down, legs together, leg up, rolling over to the belly, keeping the leg lifted, lifting the chest, coming all the way back. And the other side, knee to chest, straighten leg, leg up, roll hips over, foot in front of the leg, push the hip forward, foot behind, walk it as far away as you can. Up on the elbow, straighten the legs, open the arm and chest. Legs back together, leg up, rolling over to the belly, lift the chest, and rolling all the way back with the leg pointing at the ceiling, and bringing it back down. Alrighty, let's just do one quick split after doing all that work on the floor, and I'm going to show you a version of doing active split as well. So let's start with whatever leg in front you like. First, let's come into a lunge to just open up our psoas a little bit more. So foot straight under the knee, stretching the arms up. And coming into whatever your version of a split is. And we're going to attempt to imagine lifting our pelvis up off the ground. So I'm going to push down with my legs and attempt to lift my hips a little bit. We're going to do this for 8 seconds. So I'm going to push and try to lift. And relaxing back down, maybe letting the legs open a little bit more. And one more. Pushing the legs down so the hips lift up a little bit. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And relaxing down again. And coming on out. You can do a little child's pose quickly before we jump onto the other one. So I'm just doing this quickly because we don't have much time left on the video, but just to give you guys a quick demonstration. So coming into our psoas stretch first, so coming into a lunge, lifting the arms up. And coming into a split. I've got a tight hamstring on this side, so I'm not going to come all the way down. So whenever you do have any kind of little niggle, I would always recommend still stretching, but not stretching at your maximum. So if coming to your maximum feels like it aggravates you, don't do it. So let's imagine again pushing the arms down and pushing the legs down towards the ground and trying to lift the hips a little bit. So it's almost like I'm trying to push down and close my legs. So you can do this from quite high up, from a lunge too, like I'm doing right now. And relax. And 8 seconds, one more time, pushing the legs down, trying to lift the pelvis a little bit. And relaxing back down. And come on up. One more little child's pose, bringing the hips into full flexion to compensate. So we're going to do a little bit of straddling and hip opening here as well. So let's just take a little bit of a butterfly pose first to ease into it. So you can give a little bit of a rock from side to side or flap your wings if you like. And then just pushing the belly down towards the floor and leaning forward a little bit. So we're going to come into a frog pose first. So I bring the knees nice and wide. I want my feet on the same line as my knees, so I don't want them tucked in. But I want to be making a 90-degree angle with my legs. And either staying up on your hands or coming down to the elbows, whatever works for you. You can try to move the torso forward a bit so you can push the knees out a little bit further and then pull back again. You will intensify the stretch a little. And we don't want to arch the spine here either, that makes it easier. We want to keep the spine neutral, so keeping that consciousness of maybe activating the core a little bit here, keeping the spine nice and straight. And we're going to do a little bit of active stretching here as well. So I want you to squeeze your glutes and imagine like you want to lift your knees up off the mat. That's obviously not going to happen, but that's the sensation we're looking for. So we're going to do that for 8 seconds as well. So squeezing the glutes, trying to lift the knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and relaxing. So this kind of active stretching is stretching the opposing, engaging the opposing muscle so that you're opening the muscle that you're stretching more. So we're engaging the antagonistic muscle. So let's go one more, engaging the glutes and imagining like you want to lift your knees off the mat. And relaxing. Let's go one more. And engaging the glutes, lifting the knees. 1. And relaxing. For those that want to, we can come into a full middle split here. If not, you can hang out and frog a little bit more, or you can come all the way out too if this is enough for you. So we're going to come into a middle split position, and if you're quite far off the ground, I want you to think about pointing your knees up towards the ceiling. So you're continuing to externally rotate your knees. If you're a hyperflexible person, you are pancaking completely down on the ground and you're in a full 180 split. Don't worry if your knees are facing forward. But otherwise, knees rotating up and staying up on your hands or coming down to your elbows, wherever you're at, and just try to lengthen and soften the breath here. Come on down whenever you like if you need to, otherwise I'm going to hold for about 30 seconds. And coming all the way down to the belly in any way you want to. And you can gently, slowly move the legs in, slowly wiggle, and just keeping on swaying the hips from side to side here on your belly. And coming to a still position. Let's again just rest on our belly for 1 second, bringing your cheek to the floor. So we have a bonus movement exploration today. So give this a go if you like. If not, jump forward to the cool down part of the video, but this is like a little bonus. So we're going to work on what I think we dubbed in my flexibility class, we dubbed it the human protractor because you draw a giant circle with your body. So I will show you it and then I'll break it down. So this can be done from a split or a lunge, but this is the movement. So you see, if you go, keep going round, you draw a full circle. So this can be done in a lunge, in a split or a bit of a lunge too. So don't worry if you don't have too much of a split, you can give it a go anyway. So what's happening is my front leg of my split is my anchor. So this foot stays where it is and my body draws a big circle around this foot. So how we do that is, first I come forward into the open side of my body. So where my hips are open, I'm going to fall forward enough to get my belly almost down to the mat. And my torso is going to come down and then it's going to come back up the other side. What's going to happen at the same time is I'm going to bend this leg. And this leg and my torso are going to move together. So as my leg comes over, wants to come over the other leg, my torso also spins around. My leg keeps coming over and my torso comes all the way back to face on top of this leg. So let's see that once more slowly. So from your split or lunge position, come down to your belly to the floor. Lift up your back leg of your split. You're going to bend your knee to lift your foot. I imagine the foot's coming over my left shoulder. That's where I want it to go. So as it comes over, my torso goes down and back up the other side. So the motion for the movement is all in the back leg and the torso follows. That was a little bonus movement exploration. Try both sides, obviously, as well. See how you go. So let's have a little compensate and pull down stretch. So coming onto the elbows, and I'm just going to bring my feet nice and wide, and I'm going to let one leg drop in at a time. So I don't want to, I'm not windscreen wiping my whole leg, so it's not like this. But I'm bringing one, letting one internally rotate while the other one remains relatively neutral or relatively vertical. So the difference being this isolates the hips a little bit more, whereas this gets into the whole lower back and pelvis. And letting the knees drop in together, coming into an internal rotation of the hip. This also stretches the piriformis a little bit, so that deep muscle in your pelvis you might feel as well here. Making sure your legs are on a 90-degree angle, so we don't want any weird things happening with your knees here. If you are feeling a bit twingy in your knees here, try to reposition or otherwise come out. Sometimes it can help to flex your feet as well to protect your knees. So we want to be feeling it all in the hips and nothing in your knees. I'm going to come into a long butterfly pose, which is also really good for the lower back and pelvis. So bringing the feet together and quite far away from you. I want to aim to get about my forehead to my heels. So just leaning forward. Do a little twist, so bringing one leg over the other. So we've got the bottom leg bent, wrapped around, one leg on top, so opposite arm to the leg that's on top, I'm going to place in front and twist to that side. So I'm twisting the same side that the top leg. I'm going to keep bringing this knee all the way over to stack the knees towards each other. Don't worry if they're not quite together. Wherever you're at is wonderful, but do make sure that your sit bones are connected to the mat and that you're not sitting on either of your feet. If that's a stretch for you, stay there. Otherwise, lean forward. Swap in a little bit of a fancy way. So we're going to keep our feet exactly where they are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up. I'm going to rotate my pelvis to unwind my legs, so I'll end up in a standing straddle on the other side. So my feet haven't changed position at all. I'm going to keep rotating the torso all the way around, and I'm going to bend and wind my legs back down, and you will have changed sides. How did everyone go? So same thing. So Adjusting your legs, so opposite arm to the leg that's on top, and I'm going to twist towards that side, same side as the top leg. And I'm going to continue the twist to look behind me. Remember to keep reaching up through the crown of the head and try to keep the spine really tall and straight. Coming back to the center, bring that top leg all the way over, stack the knees towards each other, sit bones connected, and either hanging up there or leaning forward. Come on up. We're going to do one little plow pose and fish pose to finish off. First, you can have another bit of a rock around if you like to, whatever you like. Circle the knees, go from side to side. And whenever you're ready, bring the legs all the way over into a plow pose. You can keep the legs straight. You can also bend the knees and bring them down to the floor beside your ears. Grabbing onto the feet, we're going to slowly rock backwards and forwards as we come down. So slowly bring each vertebra down to the mat, massaging between, creating space between in the discs. If you need to, you can change to grabbing onto your legs at some point. You can also try doing this without your arms, so it's engaging the core a little bit as well. So rolling backwards and forwards all the way until you get to the sacrum on the mat. And releasing the legs. Let's do one little gentle gravity twist, so bringing one leg over the top of the other, picking up the hips and moving them a little bit over. I've got the left leg on top, so I move my hips over to the left side and then I drop it over to the right and looking over the left side. Back up and the other side. So now I have the right one on top. So whichever leg you have on top, you're going to move your hips a few inches over to that side and then let them drop over the opposite side. And I'm going to look, continue the twist by looking over. For me, it's my right hand. Back to the middle, we're going to interlace our thumbs like this underneath our hips, so lifting the hip, interlace the thumbs, drop the hips back down on top of the hands, and lifting up the chest and letting the crown of the head drop back to the mat. Straightening up the legs as well. Shavasana for a while if you like. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining again. If you do have any questions or queries or anything, please feel free to email me and I'll either email you back or answer in the next video. Thank you everyone. See you in the next class.